Hi there, these comments are for OS. This is Michael from BetterTOEFLScores.com. Thank you for completing your very first, at least in my course right now, your independent writing practice test. You are one of my TOEFL writing bootcamp course students, and I'm getting ready to evaluate your essay. So I read it, and my first guess, I think I'm going to go over it in a lot of detail here in just a minute. I'm thinking in the three area, the high three, probably between 22 and 24 points out of 30. So I think the problem here, we're going to find out that you had what I call somewhat developed explanations. So the example you used in your first body paragraph, I think, was strong, and it illustrated the argument you're trying to make there. But when you move to the second body paragraph, that's where this problem, the somewhat developed explanations, happen. That paragraph was not developed. There wasn't a good example like the previous paragraph to illustrate your points. So you kind of ran out of steam, you ran out of things to say, you ran out of time. I don't know what happened, but you need to improve that second body paragraph. That will really make a difference. Now, I think maybe some minor problems with maybe facility and sentence formation and word choice, that's also a bit of an issue. All right, so those are my that's my feedback right now. I'm guessing you're probably between 22 and 24 points. Most likely, this essay would not get 24 because that one paragraph was not adequately developed. Okay, so that's kind of my first impression. Now let's take a look at what you wrote. Okay, so let's see the topic. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Teachers should be paid according to how much the students learn. Give specific reasons and examples to support your opinion. Right, that's the actual question there. Then this is what you wrote right here. So it looks like if we highlight yours, we have about 356 words. Excuse me. I think you can do better than that. We want to get this closer to 450, right? Those are some changes that we're going to have to make here. Now, one other thing I want to look at here, I'm going to have Microsoft Word take a look at your sentence style and vocabulary. All right, what does this tell me here? Let's look at this for a minute. So when I'm looking at this report, this is what's called the readability report that Microsoft Word does, and I'm kind of thinking, okay, what would E-Rate or ETS's artificial scoring engine think about it? So why not use another artificial intelligence program to look at your vocabulary and your grammar? So the first thing is the characters per word here is actually good. 5 is a good number. It means that your average characters per word is 5.0. Now look, notice there's a lot of words like of or are, 3 words, 2 words, I is 1. So anytime you can omit any unnecessary grammatical words, specifically things like determiners, auxiliary verbs, and prepositions, that's a good strategy, because by eliminating those shorter grammatical words, that improves your characters per word. It shows that you have better, higher vocabulary with longer words in there. So that's good from a statistical point of view. The words per sentence, this is where you can improve on a little bit. I think you need to get this number closer to 25 to 26, right? Now, I think if you do that, if you have some longer sentences by average, right, I think that will help you when it comes to, if you look again over here, it talks about limited range of syntactic structures and vocabulary. I don't think that they'll have a lot of problems with your vocabulary, but they may have some trouble with your syntactic structures there, or your sentences, if you will. Okay, so that's why I'm giving you the score that I am. Now, in the next part of the video, this is the arduous, kind of painstaking, difficult part of what I do with my international students. I'm going to edit your writing. Now, these are all suggestions, right? You can take them, you can leave them, reject them, accept them, but I'm going to show you what you can do so that you do not score 22 or 23, so you get 29 or 30 points on the writing section of the exam. Many of my students have achieved that score. I really believe that you can achieve that score. Why am I saying this? Because you don't have a lot of translation problems. It doesn't sound like you're thinking in another language. That's a good thing. You do not have a lot of grammatical problems or punctuation issues. You have some in there, but generally you're showing me you can control your language, your grammar, vocabulary, and so on fairly well, but you just need to make, I think, some changes to how you develop your ideas. Maybe some slight structural, organizational changes also can strengthen your writing. But if you make these easy to fix changes and you apply them when you take the TOEFL exam, you're going to be in great shape. Okay, so let's take a look at the introduction right now. You say, currently people understand more and more that nothing is more important than knowledge. Yeah, I think the more and more thing, I'm not going to use it. You already said more important over here, right? So what if we do this to create that sentence length a little bit more? Check this out. I'm going to use a coordinating conjunction and then use the transition word, kind of like this. So currently people understand that nothing is more important than knowledge, and hence you have there are, these are weak. That's a weak sentence. Let's just get rid of it. And hence, many approaches and strategies how about can help improve students, and give another word in here, academic performance maybe. In particular, students are allowed to choose courses that they are interested in. Let's make this a little bit more formal. Watch this. So I'm going to take the that and then do this. This demonstrates, I think, a little bit better syntactic variety there. So any sentences I'm making changes in, let me highlight these in red a little bit so then you can remember what I did. Might make it a little easier for you. In particular, students are allowed to choose courses in which they are interested and topics for their projects. How about and look, we're going to get rid of a whole bunch of words here. Let's see. In particular, students are allowed to choose courses and project topics in which they are interested. How about this? While consulting with their academic advisors regarding their studying. How about this? While advising with their academic advisors regarding their studying. Once you say while advising, it eliminates the need to use the word advice there. At the same time, some people believe that teachers should be paid how about to ensure student success, some people believe that teachers should be paid based on how much their students learn. How about in as much as improved? How about in as much as effective instructional will improve students' results. Notice how I'm working on creating some longer sentences in there. Like this one is 28, right? To ensure student success, some people believe that teachers should be paid based on how much the students learn, inasmuch as effective instructional methodology will improve student results. How about this? Let's throw a transition word in here. I think the latter approach, maybe, however, wouldn't efficiently increase students' chances to succeed, right? So we have this idea here. What do we got? 89 words here. How about in that these pupils will succeed to succeed students' mastery of course materials depends more on student effort. And what's the second point here? I think that the latter approach, however, wouldn't officially increase students' chances to succeed, and that mastery of course materials depends more on student effort. classroom learning may oversimplify may oversimplify Okay, do we have the thesis? That's the one thing that you could probably add in there as I gave you some ideas, and I took the key points from your body paragraphs and then I put those into the thesis. This is your actual thesis here. 41 words. I think the latter approach, however, wouldn't efficiently increase students' chances to succeed in that students' mastery of course material depends more. How about, we don't have to repeat the word student there. How about depends more on effort, and in that teachers kind of means because, and in that teachers who are paid according to classroom learning may oversimplify their assignments. I think we can probably do this. I'm thinking maybe we'll turn this into a compound sentence. Let's see if it works. So I think the latter approach, however, wouldn't efficiently increase students' chances to succeed in that students' mastery of course materials depends more on effort, and teachers who are paid according to classroom learning may oversimplify their assignments. Okay, we can probably do that. So now we have a specific thesis statement that kind of frames the different paragraphs, and I increased the length of this paragraph to about 113 words by creating a more sharply focused or framed thesis. I'm looking at your first body paragraph now. Let's take a look at the stats on this. So it's 168 words. You chose to focus on 2 reasons, right? That's fine. I have no problem with that. The only problem is you have 168 words in this paragraph, yet you only have 62 in this one. That does not look good academically. You want to keep your paragraphs balanced. Now, it doesn't mean if you write 168 words in one paragraph, the other has to have exactly 168, but it needs to be better than what it is. But let's focus on your strong paragraph first. To begin with, in the majority of cases, students' performance depends on how much work and effort they put into their studying. Okay, that'll work right there. The only thing is work and effort is kind of the same, so be careful about redundancy. Okay, how about this? If you go to academic, or if you go to Google, type in these keywords: avoid redundant expressions in academic writing, and go through that web page and look at some of the redundant type expressions, for example, trials and tribulations, or how much work and effort we put into studying. So you want to avoid using the similar words that kind of mean the same thing. It doesn't do anything to advance your argument. It's just another word that means the same as something else you've already said. That's also not going to show a good range of vocabulary. It says, therefore, and we're going to combine these 2 sentences. Again, we're working a little bit on our sentence length. We want to get it higher than 20. That's a goal through this error correction video, and we'll look at it at the end of the video to see how we did. To begin, in the majority of cases, students' performance depends on how much effort they put in. I'm going to put into. Maybe change this word. They put into their studying. So teachers are less likely to influence students' results. My personal experience is a great example of this. If I do not see this sentence again until after I die, I think that would be too soon. Think about the grammar with that. Yeah, you might want to play back the video to hear what I just said. But this, it's meaningless. Why not just say to illustrate? I've said the same thing. Right? So my advice is don't use predictable, memorized sentences. I've seen it. I've seen that sentence many times, but it's not even necessary. It just takes up a whole bunch of words, but it doesn't even advance the argument you're trying to say. You're taking, 8 or 9 words to use a transitional type thing when you can do the same thing with 2 words. Right? You can spend more time on the details of your example and less time on these memorized or overused expressions. To illustrate, I remember when I was a student, how about I remember maybe as a student, and then I'm going to say this. I remember as a student when half of the students in my class studied well. Well, I don't think so. Let's do diligently. We're trying to work also on our vocabulary, right? So how about, and this is not a difficult word, but if you think about well versus diligently, well is 1 syllable, diligent, that's actually 4. So if you have a choice between a 1 or a 4 syllable word, go for the longer word. Remember that a computer is reading your writing and it's looking at your vocabulary level. So 4 syllable words generally are going to score higher than a lot of 1 syllable words, which kind of dumbs down the writing a little bit. So I remember as a student when half of the students in my class studied diligently. How about this? Including my friends and I, who attended all of our lectures and spent how about this? Countless hours in the library. I'm going to get rid of this. Working on our projects. How about working on our writing and speaking projects and completing our reading, maybe assignments. I'm just trying to be a little more concrete with the details that we're using here. What do we got here? Okay, now we're at 46 words to that one. Let's look at it one more time. To illustrate, I remember as a student when half of the students in my class studied diligently, including my friends and I, who attended all our lectures and spent countless hours in the library working on our writing and speaking projects and completing our reading assignments. On the other hand, some students, I would just say some, I'm just going to say get rid of the preposition and the determiner. Why not, right? On the other hand, some students in my class, how about some classmates? We're getting rid of some words in there. On the other hand, some classmates used to miss lectures. How about this? Regularly. Do you see what I did? I replaced all of those words with just this adverb. Regularly. Now, sometimes you can put a short sentence like this, right? Generally, don't use a lot of short sentences. It's only 11 words. But if it follows this monstrous sentence, right? Sometimes you can slow things down a little bit. The reader is going to read quickly through a 46-word sentence, but then you hit the reader with this one, they're probably going to slow down a little bit and pay attention. On the other hand, some classmates used to miss lectures regularly. Moreover, they like partying. How about, I think I'm not going to do that, and instead preferred partying. And when you're commenting on the whole idea, which is why they didn't spend enough time studying, which is why I'm having some trouble with your parallelism here. So I think I'm going to end the sentence here. I'm going to put consequently they I'm going to get rid of this and said they neglected their studies. I think this cleans up your parallel structure issues. They neglected their studies, failed most of the tests, and had to retake them over and over and over. But what professor is going to allow them to keep retaking them? I don't do that. No. You fail the test, you're out. That's it. Retake the class. So consequently, they neglected their studies, failed most of the tests, and had to retake them over and over. But why is a professor allowing them to retake the tests? Because they're failing them? I mean, there's a few classes where you might do that. If I administer a test and 90% of all students fail it, that goes back to me. I'm going to say, wait a minute. I didn't do something right. There's a major problem there. So I will clarify my teaching, go over some lecture materials, prepare the students again, have them retake it, right? If 50, 60% of them are actually, if let's say 75% are actually passing it, I don't allow the ones who fail to retake it because it means that most students grasped the material. But consequently, they neglected their studies, failed most of the test, and had to retake instead of over and over. I'm going to say no. They had to retake the no. If you say retake, I guess you can say that repeatedly. So consequently, they neglected their studies, failed most of the tests, and had to retake these exams repeatedly. Clearly, all students in the class had the same access to the learning materials and opportunities to get knowledge and practical skills. However, I'm going to say, usually if you say it like that, I'm going to say a fraction. A fraction of my peers just didn't study hard regardless of the teacher's performance. Okay, so I think we have that one figured out. Notice how I actually reduced it down a little bit. I got it down to 144 words. Okay, so I think we have it. Let's go to the next paragraph. This is the one I'm having trouble with. We can fix it quite easily. We just need an example in here to illustrate it. Secondly, even though teachers can improve their methods of teaching and become more responsive to their students when getting paid based on how much their students learn, it could lead to the simplification of assignments and test questions. How about this educational incentive could lead to the simplification of assignments and test questions. For that reason, students might not get a sufficient level of education, which could affect their ability to compete for job positions in the future. Now, what I'm going to show you is how do we give the example here? What do we say? And guess what? I'm going to make it up. Let's say you want to make up an example here. What would it sound like? If you had done this, I would have scored you at least 24 points on this practice test. I would have. Notice how your shorter paragraph, it doubles in length. Why? Because of one specific example here. That's it. That's what you're missing. So let's look at the whole thing one more time. Even though teachers can improve their methods of teaching and become more responsive to their students when getting paid based on how their students learn, this educational incentive could lead to the simplification of assignments and test questions. For instance, what if a physics teacher receives lower pay since his students had lower grades compared to classes in other colleges on campus? Social sciences, humanities education, and chemical sciences. This professor might be tempted to make his course assessment materials easier for students by having a review during which he could tell students exactly what the test would comprise. In addition, he could even show students the answers to those questions so that one, students would score higher on the test, and two, these future scientists would not have to review most of the textbook course materials. For that reason, students might not get a sufficient level of education, which could affect their ability to compete for, I'm going to put future, no, for future job positions. And that way I can get rid of in the. So for future job positions. See what I did there? Then we get to the last part. To sum up, I'm confident that teachers shouldn't be paid according to how much their students perform because student success depends on their hard work, determination, and willingness to succeed. In addition, preventing this damaging, how about academic incentive? In addition, preventing this damaging academic incentive would decrease professors' motivations to make their course materials. And you said in the beginning one more time, we have easy for students to master. So I wanted to put this in there because that goes to the also part of what you said in there. So when you're doing the conclusion, try to tie it in with both of the points that you're arguing here, right? That's what I did there. Okay, let's take a look at it one more time. Now, maybe one more thing we can look at here. Let's see what changes, the changes that we made, does it affect the grade level? I think your grade level before was 10. So let's see what happened with the grade level. This gives you an idea of how the E-Rate or ETS's artificial scoring engine might look at it. Let's take a look at a couple of other things. Formality, clearly all students. No, I like that word. I don't see any problem with that. Let's see what else Microsoft says. Inclusiveness. Good. It says change it to proficiency. I like that. So we're going to change that word. Look at that. Editor score goes up to 98. Let's look at some resume things. See if we can learn anything else here. How much effort? I don't think there's any problem with that. No problem there. Yeah, we could probably say failed most tests, right? And that gets rid of a couple of words. I'm going to leave that one. I'm going to ignore it. Okay, let's look at one more thing here. Document stats, what happened here? Let's see if any changes what we made, how did it affect the writing? Wow, my goodness. Woo, this is a big one. So we actually went from 20.1 words per sentence to 29.1. That's, you want to go any higher than that, at least not for this. Right, but characters per word is 5.4, and I didn't put a lot of super long. I put some college level words in there, but we got rid of a lot of those grammatical words, and that dramatically affected the characters per word in your writing. And then the grade level here, it goes to 15.5. My goodness. What is that? That's beyond college level. This is more graduate writing now. We're getting into the graduate level writing style. So you can see that. So the changes that we made, it did affect the grade level of the writing. It got you out of high school and into college. So I think that's a good thing. So I think that E-Rater will like that. E-Rater is going to like the sentence structure, the sentence style you're using, the vocabulary you're using. I think that's going to have a big impact on your score also. Okay, let's read it one more time. Currently, people understand that nothing is more important than knowledge, and hence many approaches and strategies can help improve students' academic performance. In particular, students are allowed to choose courses. They're allowed to choose courses and project topics in which they're interested while advising with their academic while advising with their academic maybe counselors. So we don't say that advising and advisors, maybe too much, with their academic counselors regarding their studying. To ensure student success, some people believe that teachers should be paid based on how much their students learn, inasmuch as effective instructional methodology will improve students' results. I think the latter approach, however, wouldn't efficiently increase students' chances to succeed, in that students' proficiency of course materials depends more on effort, and teachers who are paid according to classroom learning may oversimplify their assignments. So everybody look at this for a minute here at YouTube and also OS. The main thing is if if you have a thesis that's over 20 words, in this case it's 38 words, there's nobody else in the English language who has ever written that thesis before. That's original. That's what you want in a thesis statement. You want it to be original, you want it to be focused, you want it to frame the key points of your body paragraphs, and that's exactly what this does. And maybe because the sentence is already pretty long, let's get rid of some unnecessary words here. And teachers paid. How about this? We can get rid of a couple words here. Remember, this is a pretty long sentence, so we can make it a little shorter. So what happened there? What did we do there? Now we're down to 33. Even better. Okay, let's take a look at your first body paragraph. Remember, notice how the two paragraphs, when you look at them kind of together, they're pretty similar now. They kind of look both developed. Looks like you didn't run out of time when you got to your second body paragraph, right? So it looks better cosmetically to do this. You got 142 words. You have 161. They're pretty close, not exactly the same, but so let's look at what you said in this one. To begin with, in the majority of cases, students' performance depends on how much effort they put into their studying, so teachers are less likely to influence students' results. To illustrate, I remember as a student when I remember, and we don't have to say as a student there, right? I remember when half of the students in my class, or how about this, when half of I remember when half of my classmates studied diligently, including my friends and I, when half of my, now this is tricky. Do you want to say including my friends and I or including my friends and me? That is interesting. Let's look at this for a minute. Yeah, I'm going to say me here. Now, if you disagree with me at YouTube, put your comments below. Here's my logic. So I remember when half of my classmates, so including my friends and me, these refer back to classmates. Classmates is in an object position. How do I know this? It comes after a preposition. So now I'm using this idea to refer back to that, but I think also I said including or includes. I'm using kind of the verb or the participle here, and then what we need after this is an object. So I think that we definitely need an object after the word including, and friends and me also refer back to classmates, which is also in an object position. So me is an object pronoun, I is a subject pronoun, and that's why I'm choosing me instead of I. Okay, let's keep going. Including my friends and me who attended all our lectures and spent countless hours in the library working on our writing and speaking projects and completing our reading assignments. On the other hand, some classmates used to miss lectures regularly and instead preferred partying. Consequently, they neglected their studies, failed most tests, and had to retake these exams repeatedly. Clearly, all students in the class had the same access to the learning materials and opportunities to get knowledge and practical skills. However, and here, this is a comma splice. I missed it the first time around. Some of you are probably already making comments on this one. We need to put the semicolon here, not the comma. Why is that? So look, clearly all students, blah, blah, blah. This is an independent clause here. It says all students had. It has a subject and a verb. But then you say, however, a fraction of my peers just didn't study hard. This is another independent clause. So you cannot join separate independent clauses with a comma. You use either a period or a semicolon. That's going to work better. Now, if you want to learn more about this, go to Google. Here are the key words. What is a comma splice in academic writing? And you can learn more about that by typing in those key words. Okay, the next paragraph. Secondly, even though teachers can improve their methods of teaching and become more responsive to their students when getting paid based on how much their students learn, this educational incentive could lead to the simplification of assignments and test questions. For instance, what if a physics teacher, yeah, maybe we need to use the hypothetical, we use the simple past form of the verb to talk about a present impossible situation. What if a physics teacher received lower pay since his students had lower grades compared to classes in other colleges on campus? Social sciences, humanities, education, and chemical sciences. This professor might be tempted to make his course assessment materials easier for students by having a review during which he could tell students exactly what the test would comprise. In addition, he could even show students the answers to those questions so that one, students would score higher on the test, and two, these future students would not have to review most of the textbook course materials. For that reason, students might not get a sufficient level of education, which could affect their ability to compete for future job positions. Okay, then we have our conclusion. To sum up, I'm confident that teachers shouldn't be paid according to how much their students perform because student success depends on their hard work, determination, and willingness to learn. In addition, preventing this damaging academic incentive would decrease professors' motivations to make their course materials too easy for students to master. Good, we got it. Okay, there's one more thing I want to do. Hold on for a second. Is there anything that you need to study in my 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT? What, if anything, should you study in order to improve your writing? Okay, let's think about this for a minute. I'm going to go into the grammar section first. I think vocabulary, I don't see any major issues there. Let's look at grammar here for a minute. Make this a little bit bigger here. I think lesson 15. No. Lesson 14, parallel structure. I think that's a good one for you right now. Is just make sure your sentences are parallel. That's one thing to look at. Don't need any of this. I would go to lesson 25, comma splices, run-on sentences and fragments. I think that's a good lesson for you right now, particularly comma splices. Lesson 26, sentence variety. There's about 3 or 4 ways that you can shake up your writing a little bit, right, to show some syntactic variety. I would do lesson number 26, sentence variety. That's a good one for you. I think lesson 26.2, sentence variety practice exercises. I think the most important thing for you is number 27, being more concise. Definitely, that's a really good lesson for you right now. How to be more concise in academic writing. Go through that one. That's a good one. I think that's it. Okay, let's go to the writing section of my course for a second. See if anything stands out that I maybe you should develop or look at. Okay, there is one thing I think is going to be important for you. Here it is. If you go to bettertoeflscores.com, right? I want you to go here, type in this. TOEFL thesis statements. This is a good one. Check this one out. I want you to review this lesson where I want you to follow the general tips for thesis statements here, and then you can see some examples of how to write thesis statements, right? Notice how my thesis statements, they're not short. They're actually pretty long, all of them. That's my strategy. I think it's better to get toward originality. And longer type thesis statements, it helps to more clearly frame the ideas in your writing. Okay, what else? Let me go back here, see if there's anything else that I'm looking at. Thesis here, transitions, writing details. I think this is a good one here. No, don't worry about that one. I don't like that one. That's not a good lesson. I need to get rid of that one. Here's a better one. Lesson 5.6, writing the perfect paragraph, I think. And just remember, the main thing is you know how to do it. You did it in paragraph 2. You did not continue that perfect paragraph in that next paragraph. So just go over writing the perfect paragraph and pay a lot of attention to how you can take an example and then develop that in say 100 words or so. That really helps the depth and the complexity of your writing. I think that's a good lesson for you right now. Okay, I think that's it. So what you can do now is, if you have any questions about the corrections I made and the changes or whatever I did to your writing, I have my Zoom office hours next Monday and next Tuesday. So you can come in on either Monday or Tuesday for maybe 15, 20 minutes. I can answer any questions you might have. And then the next step is, if you understand everything I'm saying here, I think it's important for you now to do a TOEFL integrated writing practice test. And I can give you the same type of error correction feedback on that. That's the purpose of the Writing Bootcamp course, to give you some intense, really thorough correction on these 2 practice tests. And then you complete 15 more practice tests by the end of the month. And then at that point, you should get everything going in the right direction. And if you're scoring 29 to 30 on the practice test that you're doing in my course, it is time to retake the TOEFL exam. No joke. And then you're very likely to get that score of 29 or 30. All right, thank you.